The Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast, starts now. Welcome back, everybody, to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. I am here with Coach, as always. And, Coach, interesting game today, a lot to talk about. Overall, I think a lot of things to be happy about. But what was your initial take of the match today? The Community Shield.
Oh, hi, Salim, and hi to everyone out there. I think this performance will probably be overanalyzed because I think expectations amongst Liverpool fans, and I think fans of the game in general, is that Liverpool are going to be this juggernaut this season. And if I was looking at the game itself, I would say Crystal Palace on the day was the better team overall. Mm-hmm. Yes, they fielded the same team as the cup final, so maybe they were a little more in tune. But the game, from a Liverpool perspective, pretty much followed the pattern we've seen throughout pre-season, in as much as Liverpool tend to look better going forward, but things aren't quite all right at the back. So the other thing that concerns me a little bit, and actually we saw this throughout last season, and maybe it's a hangover from the Jurgen Klopp era, is they go through long periods of the game where they just seem to be knocking the ball around rather than actually trying to do something with it. Mm-hmm. And I thought that throughout the second half, Liverpool never really looked to attack with any conviction. I think they were quite happy to have the lead. I think they were quite happy to play the ball around. As I say, the only phase of the game where they really went forward with some purpose was maybe that opening spell of the game, the opening 25, 30 minutes. I think pretty much after that, Crystal Palace started to control the game. And yeah, so okay, it was penalty kicks, but I thought they deserved to win. And I felt it was only a matter of time in the second half that they would get an equalizing goal. And they did.
Yeah, the performances from the different players today, but just to go over the starting lineup, both Kerkez and Frimpong, Kerkez on the left, Frimpong on the right, are obviously new additions to the defense. There was Alisson in goal, Van Dijk and Konate in the middle. And then Curtis Jones started. Gravenberch is a dad, so congratulations, Ryan Gravenberch. That's why he wasn't in the squad today, but not sure that he would have played regardless because he is suspended for the first game of the season regardless. So Curtis Jones got the start there. And then we had Szoboszlai and Wirtz in the midfield as well. And then Mo on the right. We had Hugo Ekitike down the middle and Cody Gakpo on the left. So pretty strong squad, but also that's 4 new additions. When you field 11 players, that's 35%, something like that, of a new team playing together. So regardless of that, Coach, there were some really bright spots. Hugo Ekitike looks like a player for sure. His goal was very well taken. You could see he runs hard, he plays hard. I thought some of his hold-up play was okay as well. I mean, he wasn't holding the ball every time, but the fact that he was willing to put his body into other players, I enjoyed that. I think we have a bright young star on our hands for sure there. And then Florian Wirtz, I thought there are times where he just looks so majestic with the ball, glides by people. And then Frimpong, it's very clear on his goal how quick he is. He's gonna give a lot of people down that right-hand side a lot of problems. And I thought Kerkez had a decent game, not too great, not too bad, but was steady. Coach, what were your takes of the new players?
I think Ekitike was maybe the player on the day that showed up the most. As I think the commentator said, there's a lot of sides to his game. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be there just to score goals. I think he can score some goals, but he links play, he holds the ball, he's mobile, he's fast. So So there's a lot of facets to his game, and I think he is an excellent addition to the squad, and certainly for the kind of game that I believe Arne Slot wants to play, which is basically possession based. I think he's a very strong addition from that perspective. Frimpong, from what I can see, has little license to play defense. I mean, he plays so high. He's got great pace, as we all saw today and throughout the preseason. The goal he scored was a freak, but I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a couple more goals like that during the season, because he just goes at defenders and he just knocks the ball across the box, and sometimes you get the benefit of the doubt, as he did today. Kirkus was quiet. Wirtz, I think you see little flashes of his brilliance. So I think overall, Friday's game against Bournemouth, we will see a lot more as to the positives and negatives, not just of these players, but also the team overall. Because if you look at it, I think some of Liverpool's senior players didn't have their best foot forward today at Wembley.
Coach, if let's go ahead and rate the players from the back. Let's start with Allison. Out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10. He made a couple good saves. Maybe was hung out to dry on a couple goals there. He made a couple saves in the penalty shootout as well. Maybe 7 or 8 out of 10.
I would give him an 8. I thought that Allison looked good. I mean, there was one save he made from Eze in the second half where Eze was very close, and again, Liverpool's defending wasn't the best. That was a very good save. I thought he looked solid. I thought his distribution was good. He had a good game.
So if we look, let's look at Van Dijk. What were your thoughts on his game today?
Van Dijk obviously was involved with both of the goals. You know, he gave away a penalty, and then for some reason stepped up and left the gap that Sarr was able to exploit. So not his best game today, for sure.
Maybe 6 out of 10?
6, yeah.
Yeah. What about Konate?
I would say 6.
Yeah. And then Kirkes and Frimpong?
Kirkes 6. I would probably give a little bit extra for Frimpong because he showed something going forward. So maybe a 7 for him.
Okay. So when we look at the midfield, Curtis Jones, Szoboszlai, and Wirtz, how would you rate them?
Jones, I didn't notice him much in the second half. In the first half, I thought he was involved. And then the other thing that he would do is that when Frimpong got forward, he would drop in behind. So I would probably give him a 6. A good first half, but he was anonymous in the second half.
Okay.
I thought Szoboszlai had a sloppy game because he looked really good against Bilbao last week. Not so today. He gave the ball away a number of times when really he had simple options to play to. So not a great game for him. So 5, 6 for him. Wirtz 6. Showed up well in the first half, but like Jones faded in the second. And we didn't see much, obviously, when they sub players in from McAllister and from Elliott. So, so it's hard to give him a grade, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Wirtz, he had that opportunity in the second half at the top of the box there and just kind of skied it over. I would give him a 7, but I wouldn't be, upset if people said that 6 around his game today. But the flashes are definitely there, so there's a lot to look forward to. Coach, what about Hugo, Mo, and Gakpo?
I would give an 8 to Ekitike.
Yeah. Gakpo
6, and Salah, I would give Salah a 4. I mean, he wasn't really in the game at all. His decision making wasn't the best. He maybe had one good chance, and that was about it. So, yeah. When we analyse the squad for the season, I think I've got more to say about him. But I thought he was poor today.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe he skied another one over in the PKs. So I'm curious, kind of where his head's at a little bit. But I think everybody's entitled to a bad game here and there. It was just strange that he wasn't getting the ball a lot. They weren't obviously they did not target him as the main guy, the play to go through him the whole game. And yeah, he was anonymous for a lot of it. It was very strange kind of to see, but I agree with you with Hugo. And coach, there's one thing I kind of noticed when the ball was kind of moving around between all the players. It seemed like when it got to Cody Gakpo, he would dribble a little bit more than maybe necessary. Did you see that at all? I just kind of saw he kind of stuck, like the ball kind of stuck with him for some reason. He wasn't moving it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought there were several occasions when he could have moved the ball much, much quicker than he did. So, so he's very much a player that favors coming inside, and I feel he's going to have to be a little more expansive. I mean, because he's strong and he's got some good pace. It's not blistering, but he's not slow. So can he use his pace to go on the outside of players more? Can he use his strength to muscle around them? I think he might have to develop or think about that side of his game because he's a little bit too predictable. And if he doesn't ditch the ball quickly enough when he has the opportunity, then he becomes less effective.
Yeah, it was frustrating for me. I was in a text group and said if he keeps playing like this, I think he's going to find himself on the bench. But then again, we don't have anybody else that can play there other than Rio currently. There's still some time in the transfer market to potentially get another addition. The whole saga with Isak is well documented. So we'll see kind of what happens there. Coach, the Liverpool Academy, I just mentioned Rio, there's Trey, Neoni. Do you think they're going to have a factor in the season?
No. I have to be honest with you. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think that this season we will see more of a transition from the Jurgen Klopp era to the Arne Slot era. I think pretty much what we saw last year was he inherited a good squad with good options, and he did some things well. He didn't try to change too much. He managed a lot of injuries, like there weren't a lot of hamstring injuries, for example. So he did well from that perspective. He did well pacing the team, but I think that what might have been a problem if Liverpool had had more of a challenge from Arsenal and Manchester City going into the late part of the season. The big weakness was he didn't rotate enough in midfield. And it's fine to say, well, he didn't trust the players and all of that. But I think in Endo and Elliott, he had good options that he could have given them minutes and then brought down the game time overall for the midfield. And okay, Florian Wirtz, is he going to be a midfielder or is he going to be a forward this year? We don't know. But he's not really added a lot in midfield. So is he going to sell Elliott? These are all things that are going to be revealed in the next 2 weeks. So I think Trey Neoni and Ingemar, players like this, we might see them in League Cup games, but unless there's a lot of injuries, I doubt we'll see them play much in the Premier.
Coach, with the players that we have currently, and McAllister is kind of getting back into shape, and I think he's an automatic starter, right, Coach? And then my question, I guess, is for the continuity of the defense. Do we start Bradley over Frimpong and give Frimpong the ability to come in for Mo Salah or Bradley? From a defensive standpoint, it just seemed like they were all over the place, and maybe adding somebody that's more used to the style of play and kind of the continuity with Konate and Van Dijk versus Frimpong. Maybe having him start might be a good way to go. What are your thoughts?
I would say yes, but I don't know how serious this injury is because it's 5 days to the Bournemouth game, and I don't know what the injury is. I think that if you look at defense overall, Liverpool are fine in terms of their goalkeepers.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's no issues there. And a lot of people are highlighting the need to buy or maybe bring in players defensively. And I would agree with that. I would agree very much with that, in fact. But I think you've also got to look at a couple of other factors here. Van Dijk is still a great defender, but he's past his peak. And maybe we saw instances of that today. I think that's one thing you have to consider. And then there's Canate, who maybe fancies a move down the road to Real Madrid. I think Liverpool are just going to have to accept that they keep him for the year. And if he goes, he goes, like Trent did. Because they are short-handed in terms of their central defenders. The academy options that they have, Nallo and Lucky, I mean, I watched them play a lot with the reserves and the youth team last year. They are nowhere near Premier League ready, nowhere near. And will they ever be Premier League ready? I couldn't say, but if you're going to rely on them, then there's going to be issues. So then it comes down to playing other players, whether it's Endo, Robertson, and I think that you need players who are going to come in, and that is their position, and they can do it well. So you have Mark Gahey, so I don't know how he'll be feeling after the game today, and then you've got, I think the other player that they're looking at is the player at Parma, Giovanni Leone. So he may well be a great talent. He may be a fantastic talent, but he's never played in the Premier League before. He's only 19 years old. I was surprised that they didn't go for Jorel Hatto because they've been linked with him for a long time, and Hatto has ended up at Chelsea. So I think there are concerns, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of personnel here, because throughout the preseason, Liverpool haven't looked good at the back.
Yeah, I did some digging on Leone, the defender from Parma, and granted, there's not a big sample size of his play last year, but one thing I noticed immediately was he's very physical. Very, very physical with people running at him, shoulder barges, gets stuck in pretty good. Now, he is only 18 or 19, and it's just weird to think, would he really make a move to Liverpool when there are other teams in Italy where he'd probably start or stay at Parma another year and get more game time? Or would he come to Liverpool and potentially be a third string, maybe even fourth string central defender? So there's some questions there, and I hope what happened to Gahey today. I mean, when I saw him on the floor on the pitch, I'm like, you got to be kidding! Anybody but him. So let's hope he's okay, and it's maybe just fatigue. It was a hot day today. There was 2 cooling breaks, one in the first, one in the second, and maybe it's just the heat that kind of got to him. But we'll see. Coach, we have some good title contenders this year for sure. I mean, this is going to be an exciting Premier League. Arsenal yesterday beat Fiorentina. Was it Fiorentina? I think it was. But Gyökeres got on the score sheet with a beautiful header, and then also hit the bar on another header. They're going to be a tough challenge. Chelsea has, a million players. They can do a lot of different things, and obviously they're City. Coach, amongst those 3, is Arsenal the main title contender there?
Yeah, I hope that Liverpool fans won't be too tough. Like they can comment below. I fancy Arsenal for the title this year, and I think Manchester City might be in a good situation as well because nobody's talking about them, and I think that's the situation that Liverpool had last year. So yeah, I believe they beat. I think it was Bilbao they beat yesterday, by the way, which is the team Liverpool played the week before. So I think that what Arsenal has done well is they've brought in some good players, but it's basically, apart from Gyökeres, it's been to give more depth, like for like replacements, say. So if one drops out, they can bring in a Zubamende or like whoever. I think Gyökeres obviously is a different style of player than they've had before. So I would say his signing is to answer the question that everybody's been asking about Arsenal. They don't have an out-and-out striker. So my guess is that he will play and Havertz will play as well. The manager will change things from game to game. But I think that they have a squad that's strong, and I think they have a style of play that the new players will easily be able to segue into. And I have to say that I fancy them for the title this year. And I think City, as I said, I think that what people forget is City also spent heavily in the winter transfer window. So they brought in a lot of players. They have been able to transition some of them in at the Club World Cup. And I think even though they've lost Rodri for a little bit, I think that they're definitely going to be in contention. Chelsea should have confidence, if nothing else. It's just that they've signed players since the World Cup, like Gittins, who you would think would be players that will play a lot. So how does that affect the chemistry of the team? Again, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, from a continuity standpoint, like Palace kind of showed today, Arsenal has that. They've been lacking that out and out striker for quite a while now, and they got one. And from the cameo, the 60 minutes he played yesterday, he looked to be a player. But Coach, how will Liverpool gel when we move throughout the season? Last year we called for patience as Arne Slot kind of comes in, and they got off to a great start. The start of the season here, the first 3 games, Bournemouth, Newcastle, and then Arsenal, not an easy start. How do you get these guys to gel quicker or more effectively, and how long will it take? What kind of start do you anticipate? What's this going to look like?
I think it'll take time. Like to use a cliche. I think too many people are looking at Liverpool as they appear to be on paper. And that was very much in evidence today. So, just say if that had been a Premier League game, do I think Liverpool would have tackled it differently? I think possibly they would have, because the second half, they were so low key. I don't anticipate them approaching it quite that way when it comes to a league game. So it's going to take time. And I think the first half pretty much you saw how Liverpool will have to play a lot of their games where the team sits in. And that's what Palace did early on. But the concerning thing was that when Palace tried to expand their game in the second half, they were pretty much able to do that. So I definitely don't see Liverpool as red hot number 1 title contenders. I was listening to Radio Merseyside the other day, and every one of their pundits says that Liverpool's going to win the league. And I know the BBC will publish results today, and I think that the majority will have Liverpool to win the league. I think that this is the transition year that we were going to have, or people thought we were going to have last year.
So what do you anticipate them finishing? Top 4 for sure?
I think that they should be in contention. And obviously, if things go well, yes, they could still win the league. I don't doubt that. I don't think it's quite as straightforward as many seem to be saying. I think Arsenal, City, Chelsea. I expect that to be the top 4. And I think Manchester United might surprise and be the most likely team to breach that top 4, because they will have goals in them now. I think there's no question, because of who they've signed. And I think the manager wants to play an attacking style. So they will have some issues that they have to sort out. Unlike Liverpool, it is at the back. But they don't have the added pressure that Liverpool have, in terms of Liverpool now has expectations, whereas 12 months ago, I don't think the expectations were that high.
Yeah. Um, it's really going to be up to Slot to kind of put it together. It really is. I'm curious to say what he's going to say after this game as far as some positives, the room for improvement. Coach, is Van Dijk going to be? Do we expect a serious drop off for him, or was it just a bad game today? I mean, what? Because it looked like he was in between two minds constantly, especially on the two goals. First of all, did you think that was a penalty kick? I did.
When we were watching it, I thought he won the ball, but then when you saw it close up, you could see that he didn't win the ball. So it was definitely a penalty. And as we said earlier, he made a bad choice in terms of pushing up and opening up a gap, which Sarr was able to get into and score. I think Van Dijk and even more so Salah are going to be issues this season, and I'd love to know what other Liverpool fans think about this. I think Van Dijk will still be a solid presence at the back, but as I said earlier, I think he's past his peak. So he's still very good, but he's not the best defender maybe in the world anymore. So I think that's one thing. The Mo Salah situation I see as, is this going to be his last season with the club? And so why do I say that? I think there's several reasons. I think that in 12 months' time, however this season goes, we're going to be back in the same situation that we lived through a year ago, which is he going to sign again? So, yeah, I think that's going to be an issue. I think there are other things going on. I think one thing is he doesn't like to be substituted. I wouldn't say that he was kind of a Cristiano Ronaldo type of player in terms of ego, but of any player that's on the squad right now, he has an ego. And really, I thought he should have been substituted today. So how is he going to respond if the manager just start rotating him, substituting him? I think that's one thing that we have to consider. African Cup of Nations, where he's going to be missing. And if Egypt does well, he'll miss like 6 games for Liverpool. So these are all factors that make me think, are we basically seeing kind of the last throes of the Mo Salah era at Anfield? And, I don't know what you think about it, but I just see that there are several potential ingredients to make that so.
Well, last year, I mean, was an amazing season, and you kind of think about the whole season and just how well he performed. Everything flowed through him. He was scoring goals, giving assists, and at 32 years old, you just think, can he do it again? And you mentioned, this game's going to be overanalyzed, and we're kind of doing the same thing here. But him now 33. I mean, if he does half of what he did last year, I would say it's a successful season. I mean, it was that he had 47 goal contributions. I mean, that's incredible. And if he does 23, 24 goal contributions, that's still a pretty good season for him. But I am worried. I am worried about him as well. And yeah, could this be his last season? Does Saudi come knocking in January or in the summer? And do we say, okay, maybe it's time? I don't know, but it also depends on who else comes in. The Isak cloud is kind of over our head. I'm almost to the point here where I'm kind of sick of it and just kind of let's move on. Newcastle's just, playing whatever game they want to play. They've gone for players left and right and haven't gotten them. And, there's reports out there that Newcastle told him he wasn't moving this summer, but then other reports saying that wasn't the case. And even Eddie Howe mentioned that he didn't hear anything about it. So there's a lot that just kind of comes into it versus him being, him being here for last season or his performance, but also it is one game. the penalty kick thing kind of bothered me today because 2 in a row. I'm wondering if he's going to be off penalties. And if he's off penalties, does his goal contributions go down significantly? Probably. So there's a lot at play here, Coach, but I don't think, we're wrong to start to question these things because historically speaking, 30-year-old football players decline. It's just the way it is. It's a young man's sport. It's not, and once you get in your 30s, you lose a step, you lose a half step, and guys younger than you go blowing by you. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think you make some very good points there, Salim. If he does halve his goal contributions, I think that's a good season too. But the question is, if he halves his goal contributions, it's probably because he's being rotated more. He's seeing less time. And so the question that I'm posing, and wonder whether yourself and other Red fans see it, is can he live with that after being the main man for so long? And now all of a sudden you've got a player like Florian Wirtz coming into the team, and clearly it seems that he's going to play in a position where he's central and has the potential to have an awful lot of things flowing through him. So does that marginalize Mo Salah, and can he accept a new role? We shall have to wait and see on that score. With regard to Alexander Isak, I think it has become a huge distraction. And I mean, even if Liverpool do sign Isak, I mean, is he going to play as a central defender? I think really to look at things overall, whilst Liverpool's recruitment has been praised, I think that when you look at the squad overall, you've got, I mean, last year you have 5 forwards. 3 of those have gone. Now, obviously, it was very sad. I think obviously Diogo Jota would still have been there. But the fact is that in cold reality, they've lost 3 forwards that they had out of their 5 for last year. So that tends to make me think that they're probably still going to try to get Isak. And I think they probably won't sell Chiesa. And if they do sell Chiesa, who are they going to keep as your 5th option? Is it going to be Ben Doak, or is it going to be Ingemar? So these are things that Liverpool have to make their mind up over the next 2 weeks. I mean, but all of a sudden they're short-handed. Now you can play Wirtz as a forward, coming in off the left, because I mean, like he's done that before previously quite a lot. But all of a sudden that kind of takes players down in midfield, where, as I said earlier, that's where Liverpool had problems before in terms of rotation. So the manager then has to make choices, right? I'm going to play Endo more. I'm going to play Elliott. And that's if you don't sell Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that Trainioni may have potential, but physically I would question him being able to play a lot in the Premier League. I really would. And then he got the issues at central defence. So whilst Liverpool have brought all these very good players, is there a numbers issue here? And it's not just in central defence, but it's throughout the team. So yeah, I mean, like they're going to have to recruit players possibly in the next 2 weeks. They may have to go for players that aren't their top choices. And then kind of the manager said all along that he wanted players that he could integrate in through the pre-season. So he's going to integrate or have to integrate players in while games are in flow. So, yeah, there's an interesting couple of weeks coming up for sure.
Coach, when Hugo Ekitike came off the field, I was very interested. I thought, okay, is Wirtz going to play a false 9? Is it going to be a 2-10 system with Szoboszlai and Wirtz? And then it kind of seemed that Szoboszlai was the one playing the false 9. He was ahead of Wirtz when pressing, and that's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out for sure, because if Mo Salah's not firing on all cylinders, you need somebody up there that can do the business. So very, very interesting. But regardless, the transition is happening, and I think overall we have a lot to be excited about. But again, tough start to the season. Patience. I can see both things happening. I can see us getting off to a hot start. I can see us kind of coming out the block, stumbling a little bit. It's going to be exciting to see and to watch. But the players that have brought in, I think overall in the grand scheme of things, are going to bed well with this team, and they're going to be very productive. So saying all that, Coach, next week, first game, Bournemouth, Friday night. What are your thoughts?
What will a manager do in light of the game today? I mean, I think they'll play with more commitment over the 90 minutes. Iriola has shown in the past, that he's not averse to taking the game to the opposition. His issue is obviously they've lost players at the back, one of whom is now playing for Liverpool. Actually, I thought one thing that was interesting was when Robertson came onto the field. He was only on for 10 minutes, but he did something that I never really saw Kirkus do in the whole game, which was actually cross a good ball. So like that is not to write off Milos Kirkus, but I think the manager will rotate fullbacks. He did last year, and I think he's going to do it again this year. Bournemouth, Liverpool have to play better than they did today if they're going to win. I mean, if they don't get early success and then they play with more commitment over the 90 minutes, it will be another draw. I mean, people will be expecting them to beat Bournemouth. And then, of course, they have that game at Newcastle away, which is always a tough game, but now has some spice to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once Newcastle's in the books, then they play Arsenal. So yeah, I think Arne Slot has some work to do this week. Again, I think the get out of jail card today was it's a pre-season game. Friday's not a pre-season game. Yes, he will still have integration issues, but yeah, now all of a sudden there's things at stake.
What do you anticipate the result will be? I know that you said if they don't play well, it'll be, or if they play like they played today, it'll be a draw. But thinking that it's another game that they'll play together, they'll have 3-4 days of training in between. I'm sure there'll be some strong messaging from Arne Slot about the performance and the improvement necessary to go into the season. Do you anticipate a win? I can see a 2-0 win here. I think Bournemouth's been decimated by people picking off their players. One of their central defenders just signed with PSG recently. So I see a 2-0 victory. And I think if they play let's say they play 10% better than they played today.
Look, if Liverpool play to their potential, then yes, they should win. The thing that I question a little bit, yes, again, it's pre-season games, is some of the issues we saw today, we've seen it throughout the pre-season. And now comes the acid test where it counts. And I think one thing that Liverpool will be this season is under pressure. And it's under pressure. I mean, every year teams like to beat the champions. So there's that side of it. But there's expectations, I think, will be the biggest pressure that Liverpool faces this year. Massive expectations. And it's not just from the fan base, but it's from people externally. Nobody really talked about them a year ago. Now everybody's talking about them because they've spent so much money. And I think one thing, as I said earlier, that's concerning is they've got very sidetracked by this Alexander Isak issue. And I think looking back on the summer, obviously there was the Diogo Jota tragedy, which I think understandably slowed up their progress in the transfer market, where they probably just shut down. So if the Jota issue hadn't have happened, would they have kind of sorted out the defensive issues, say with Mark Gahey, quicker? Of course, we will never know. But now they've become very focused on getting in Alexander Isak, and arguably, I think a forward may not be their priority. I don't know what you think about that, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, it just seems with the players sold. I mean, I think the net spend right now is about a little over £100 million. So yeah, we spent a lot, but we've sold a lot of players as well. Darwin's move to the Saudi League went through officially, I think, yesterday or today. So I was kind of wondering if we should just hold on to him and have him be that super sub. That a role that he plays well, but I guess that's not the case. So, Coach, we mentioned, the front line now not being as deep. We mentioned that last year the midfield was kind of running to the ground, and now we're mentioning that the defense isn't as deep as well. So if we bring one central defender, it doesn't matter, one that can play. If we bring one forward, left winger, whatever, right winger, anybody that can play on the front line, that's quality. Doesn't necessarily have to be Isak. I'd feel a lot better about all this, wouldn't you?
Right, and I don't want people who are watching to think that I'm negative or totally negative about Liverpool's season. The way that I would prefer to frame it is, let's be realistic about where we are. In terms of, Liverpool has a lot of talent. They've spent a lot of money. They've brought in very good players. Integration is the same for all teams that are in the league. It's not just for Liverpool. You've always got to get the new blood in. But Liverpool have the added pressure of, as I keep saying, there's big expectations. Everyone, or it seems like most people, think that Liverpool are going to win the league. I don't see it as cut and dried, and that was long before the game today. I just feel that there are questions to be asked, and in some ways, this is going to be the season where we see a lot of sides to Arne Slot's approach to the game that we didn't see last year, because the situation is very, very different now.
Yeah. One thing that Arne Slot does have under his belt is Feyenoord being a selling club in the Dutch league, where his team kind of transitioned over 3, 4, 5 players regularly, and then they bought players and he integrated them relatively quickly. So I'm interested to seeing how this skill set that he had to do at Feyenoord will transition over to Liverpool and the Premier League. So he's got a big job ahead of him because of all the new players. It's going to be very interesting, very, very interesting. And you mentioned we're going to see different sides of Arne Slot, and it's so true. It is so true. But the one thing that I want him, if there's one area that I want to see him really shine in, is how he builds this team and integrates these new players into this, and how quickly he can do it. I think that will really show how that skill set that he learned in Feyenoord is a skill set that he can utilize here at Liverpool, because once these people bed in and once this team gets rolling, whether it's in a month, 2 months, January, even next year, the team is set up for success long term. So excited about that. Coach, is there anything else that we need to cover here that's important? We've covered a lot of things, from the Community Shield analysis, the players, how they performed. We covered the title contenders here. We covered a lot of things, and those who are just listening to this on podcast, we do have a ticker at the bottom, because the Liverpool Reactions Fantasy Soccer League is up and running. We had over 20 people last year. We have 12 already signed up. The code is Z8 RJEV. So make sure to join us. But, Coach, before signing off, what else do you think is important that we need to cover, if anything?
Well, I think we pretty much covered all of the bases as things stand right now. What I'd be very interested to see is how other Liverpool fans see the situation. So I'd love to see their comments on YouTube. Firstly, where do they see Liverpool finishing number one? And then the question that I posed about Mo Salah, do they see this as potentially or possibly being his last season at Anfield? I mean, I would love to know what their thoughts about those two questions.
Yeah, I agree. Well, with that, thank you everybody for watching on YouTube. Those listening on podcasts, we thank you as well. Please join the community. Please join the Fantasy Football League. Again, that code is Z8RJEV. And we're excited for the season. Interesting result today, but a lot to be excited about. And we'll catch you next time. Take care, everybody.
Bye now.
Coach and I want to take a second to thank everybody for watching on YouTube or whether you're listening via podcast. Please subscribe or follow the show wherever you consume your content. We are looking forward to continuing to bring you the best Liverpool content out there. We'll see you next time.